These are the qualities that schools are looking for teachers in the UK. The first is subject knowledge, not only a sound understanding of the concepts, but also an understanding of how best to teach this to young people. The next essential quality is time management and being able to manage numerous responsibilities. Compassion and understanding of the students in your classroom is essential, as is organisation, but most importantly, enthusiasm for being in the classroom and teaching interesting, engaging lessons. We will now look at the responsibility of teachers in the UK. Teachers are responsible for student progress, meaning that it's your responsibility to ensure students have learned what they need to before they leave the lesson. Teachers must consider the students that they have in their classroom when planning their lessons. The activities need to cater to a range of learning styles and be interesting to the students, not just based around activities that the teacher is used to doing. Classroom management is a really important responsibility. This means ensuring that behaviour is good within the classroom and that policies and procedures are followed. Engaging and ability-appropriate lessons are the most important part of classroom management. It is a teacher's responsibility to manage the behaviour in the classroom, and although schools will have behaviour policies to follow, sanctions such as detentions are only for use after you have tried to focus and engage the students. Because teachers are responsible for the progress of students, regular assessment of this progress is also expected. This can be formative assessment within the lesson and summative assessment at the end of a topic or a unit in the form of a test. The expectation within lessons is that teachers carry out activities such as quizzes, questioning, and other assessment for learning activities. This will let the teacher know if students are on track or if they need to revisit subject matter from earlier in the lesson. All the work that students produce must be marked. You can have students mark their own work, use activities that don't produce written work, like quizzes and role plays, but it is the expectation in most schools that extended writing will always be marked by the teacher, with comments and targets such as questions that students can reply to. Teachers also need to be aware that it's their responsibility to communicate with other members of staff and parents about student progress. We've mentioned student progress a lot, so let's have a look at your responsibilities in a little bit more detail and find out how it might affect your day-to-day teaching. For permanent members of teaching staff in England, pay is performance related. This means that the progress of all of their classes is taken into account when calculating whether they are entitled to a pay rise or not, in addition to looking at the grades from their formal observations that take place 3 times every year. This reflects the accountability of teachers for student progress. However, it can also mean that teachers are judged against results from externally assessed exams that rely on students revising outside of the classroom. It's therefore really important that teachers foster a good attitude to learning in all of their students and give them clear targets so they know what to do in order to improve. This reflects the accountability of teachers for student progress. However, it can also mean that teachers are judged against results from externally assessed exams that rely on students revising outside of the classroom. It's therefore really important that teachers foster a good attitude to learning in all of their students and give them clear targets so they know what to do in order to improve. To make sure students are making the required progress every lesson, teachers need to consistently check how students are doing with their learning. It's pointless checking at the end of the lesson whether students have understood or not, as there is no time to rectify any mistakes. The expectation is that teachers will be checking consistently throughout the lesson. Marking is an essential part of this checking process. You can see here an example of marking of a Year 9 book. This is a secondary school student, and the teacher has added comments as well as a question to increase the student's grade. The student has then responded to the teacher's question, and the teacher has marked the response. We have mentioned the teacher's responsibility for behaviour within the classroom. Here are 10 top tips for positive behaviour management. Have high expectations of the behaviour of your students. Don't settle for low-level disruption in the classroom. Give clear instructions in your lessons so that the students know exactly what's expected of them. Plan engaging activities. Students that are bored and disengaged will get distracted more easily and cause disruption in the lesson. Use lots of praise for students doing the right thing and draw attention to good examples of work. If you need to address student behaviour, focus on progress and learning rather than what that student is doing wrong. Give specific targets of what you need the student to do next, rather than criticising. If you need to give a sanction because a student's behaviour is unacceptable, make sure to follow the school policy. There will be specific escalation strategies that the school will want you to use, so stick to these carefully. For example, there may be a warning system within the classroom, giving the student chance to adjust their behaviour before they receive a sanction such as a detention. Be in control of your own emotions at all times. Don't get drawn into arguments with students, as this wastes learning times and distracts other students in the lesson. Be consistent with warnings and sanctions. If students perceive you as being unfair, this can lead to conflict. And finally, make sure you follow up any rewards or sanctions as you intended to. If you tell a student that you'll be making a phone call home to let their parents know how well they've done, make sure that you do this the same day. Equally, if you issue a student detention, it is your responsibility to hold this detention in a place and time that you will be available. Some schools will have whole school detention policies where a senior member of staff holds the detentions. However, this is usually for serious incidents rather than classroom disruption. Before you teach in UK schools, you should have training in how the UK safeguarding system works. You can take our free accredited online safeguarding training before you get to the UK to ensure you understand systems and procedures. The most important things to remember are: everybody working in a school environment has a responsibility to safeguard children and young people to ensure their welfare. If you have any concerns, you must report these in writing to the safeguarding officer or child protection officer. And finally, you must have complete control over your own conduct. Don't ever lose your temper or have physical contact with students unless entirely necessary. You can see the video for more information on when this might be necessary. It's time for a few more quiz questions to check your progress so far.